Bumblin Biden's poll numbers are absolutely imploding as a new poll shows that the majority of voters believe the Democrats cheated in November. In this video, we're going to take a look at Biden's latest polling nightmare. We're going to see how a clear majority of likely voters believe that cheating was most likely involved in his win. And stick with me to the very end of this video where I'll reveal how Democrats are growing more and more panicked as even left-wing pundits are admitting that they're about to get slaughtered at the polls. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. I'm your daily fake news antidote, offering patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And guess what? We're going to just dive right in here today, if that's all right with you. So there's really no other way of saying this. The Democrats are truly beginning to panic. And they're beginning to panic because despite having $1 trillion mass media on their side as their unofficial propagandists, their head honcho, Sleepy Joe himself, is absolutely collapsing in the polls. His approval rating is quite literally in a total free fall. I'm sure many of you saw the left-leaning Quinnipiac poll that came out just a few days back, where Biden's approval rating tanked to an utterly humiliating 38%. It was frankly shocking even to those of us who've always known that Biden's polls are basically rigged. He's never ever been anywhere near as popular as left-wing activists disguised as journalists in the mainstream media have desperately tried to portray him as. Even the ultra-leftist hacks over at CNN have had to admit that Biden has lost independent voters. 60% of independents disapprove of Biden's job performance. And frankly, gang, that's it. That's it. That's all she wrote. If you've lost 60% of independents, along with virtually 100% of Republicans, you've lost the country. I mean, it's over. The Biden regime, as of this past week, really is at least unofficially over. His so-called infrastructure bill, right, which is nothing less than a Marxist Green New Deal absurdity, is in tatters at the moment. His visit to Capitol Hill last week was an outright embarrassment. He left with nothing. Nothing. I mean, he got nothing from that visit. No one moved. No one changed their vote. He ended up absolutely insulting Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona by throwing her under the bus. He actually had the gall to say that her harassment by a bunch of far-left activists who turned out to be illegal immigrants, her harassment in the women's bathroom was all, quote, part of the process. I mean, he's an out-and-out buffoon. And his poll numbers are starting to show it. By comparison, Biden is actually 10 points lower in approval than was Obama at the same point in his presidency. 10 points. This according to Real Clear Politics polling aggregate, which takes all the polls out there and averages them out together. On October 11th of his first year in office, Obama's approval rating was at 53%. Today, Biden sits at a humiliating 43% with a 52.3% disapproval. That's a 12.3% higher disapproval rating than Obama had at the same time in his presidency. And pundits are beginning to take notice just how severe, just how dire these poll numbers are for Biden. Tom Bevan, who's the co-founder and president of Real Clear Politics, he's actually come out issuing a warning to Biden and the Democrats about his collapsing approval rating and his surging disapprovals. He just tweeted out that Biden is now in danger of crashing. Those are his words now. He's in danger of crashing into 42% approval territory. Now, if you're a regular to this channel, you'll know this already. But just in case you don't know, according to Gallup, a president underwater, that's a president who's under 50% approval, can expect to see a loss of an average of 37 seats in the House. Gang, we're not just talking under 50% approval anymore with Bumblin Biden here. We're now talking about the possibility of him being under 40%. That's the disaster that's on the horizon for the Democrats in 2022. Not to mention 2024. You probably heard about this, but not only is Trump completely outpolling Biden, but now you have even liberals like Jon Stewart coming out and admitting that it looks more and more likely Trump is going to run away with it in 2024. He's going to win. If he runs, he's most certainly going to do that. He'd be a fool not to. And to make matters even worse, we talked about this last week. According to the latest Rasmussen poll, an astonishing 55% of likely voters agree that Biden should resign over his Afghanistan debacle. 55%. Now think about that. Think about how hard it's going to be for Biden to even come close to having any semblance of a chance of winning in 2024 when 55% of the country thinks you should resign. And again, it gets even worse for Biden. You probably saw this. More than half of likely voters actually believe that cheating played a major role in Biden's election this past November. This again, according to Rasmussen. 56% of respondents agreed with the statement, quote, "It's likely that cheating affected the outcome of the 2020 presidential election." And that includes 41% who say it was very likely. Biden is being seen by an increasing number of voters as not just ridiculously incompetent, but as illegitimate as well. You have the fallout from the Arizona audit continuing to haunt him. I recently did a video on the latest from the Arizona audit with nearly 100 lawmakers calling for the decertification of the vote. You'll definitely want to check that video out. It's going to make your day. I'll make sure to link it down below for you in the pinned comment section so you can watch it after this video. And so Democrats, they're starting to panic, gang. I mean, they're really seeing the writing on the wall here. And they're beginning to out and out panic, and they're beginning to openly talk about getting rid of Biden. But then things get even worse. Isn't this fun? That's right. Things get even worse for the Democrats because who do they have waiting in the wings? Well, none other than one of the most unpopular politicians on the planet. That's who, Kamala Harris. And she's got to be one of the most cringeworthy fake human beings who have ever existed. Even leftists hate her. She couldn't campaign her way out of a paper bag during the Democratic primary. She couldn't get past 1% approval. She was utterly humiliated. Her poll numbers were so devastated she had to drop out before the first primary. And did you see the latest on her? Gang, it really doesn't get more cringeworthy than this. For whatever reason, heaven knows why, for whatever reason, Kamala's surrogates thought it would be a good idea for her to appear on a NASA space video with a bunch of kids. And she totally overacts. It's so cringeworthy. If you've seen it, when she talks about, one day we're all going to be able to go to the moon and see for ourselves the craters on the moon and explore the moon. And it was just, it was pathetic. And she was like, never let anybody tell you your limitations, blah, blah, blah. Gang, it gets worse. It's now been revealed that all those kids she was talking to, they were child actors. Every single one of them auditioned for the part. Harris is so cringeworthy, she can't even talk to real children, to real kids. They had to hire child actors to go ooh and ah with their utter nonsense. So now Democrats are really up at Greek. Their main guy is collapsing in the polls. And their backup is talking about seeing craters on the moon with a bunch of mock school children. The Biden regime is really collapsing right before our very eyes. And I, for one, am so excited to see it happen and to see what happens next. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out that video on the latest from the Arizona audit. 92 lawmakers and counting are calling for the decertification of the vote. You are not going to want to miss that. So make sure to click on the link and I will see you over there. God bless. Moon.